Foundation isn't a hospice provider, but rather we're a nonprofit organization that works with families to deliver needs that reach beyond the scope of what the hospice benefit covers. Our foundation really helps with expanded needs, things like food, transportation, payment of utility bills, and final wishes. And that's kind of really what we're known for. A little bit about my personal story and how I became involved with hospice was when I was 11 years old, I had my first stroke due to a lesion in my brain that was undiagnosed, and I was born with it. And I went through radiation treatments, and when I was 14 years old, the doctor said that there was nothing more that they could do in terms of treatment. I lost the use of my right side. I had to learn how to write with my left hand, tie my shoes with one hand, and all of the activities of daily living that we take for granted. And that I wasn't expected to live past the age of 30. So at that point, I was really faced with a choice, and that was to feel sorry for myself, be depressed, or to really pursue a life of purpose. And I began dedicating my life to serving others. And I really didn't know what kind of service I was called to do, but I just knew I had to serve in some capacity. And so I did as much as I could. Went to college, traveled all over the world. So I knew what it was like to be disabled, and I knew what it was like to have a limited life expectancy, but I still knew that I had a purpose. I found that purpose when I began volunteering for hospice to visit a patient who was in a nursing facility. She was 84 years old, and like me, she had also suffered a massive stroke. But unlike me, she was completely bedbound, paralyzed on one side, and had difficulty speaking, known as aphasia. She had 4 children that all live in that same neighborhood, but none of them really took the time to come and visit her because they didn't know how to communicate with her. They might have felt awkward, they had busy lives, children of their own. And I asked her, what was the one thing that you loved to do before you got sick? And she said, I love to read, but the stroke affected my vision and I can't see. And I said, well, why don't we start a book club, just me and you? And so I would go and I would read to her about great women in America once a week for an hour until the week she died 2 months later. And when she passed away, the son called me and asked me to give the eulogy at her funeral. So there I was, 21 years old, giving a eulogy about a woman I had only known for 2 short months. And afterwards, one of the sons came up to me and said, there were things about my mom that I never knew because I never took the time to ask. And I thought, wow, what does that say about our society? What does that say about how we treat our family, how we treat the disabled, how we treat the elderly? And I knew every inch of my body told me that I was supposed to be in hospice. And so I began searching for jobs in the field of hospice. And my first job out of college, I was a volunteer coordinator. My job was to recruit, train, retain hospice volunteers. And I got married, and 2 years later, I had my second massive stroke. Was in a coma for 8 days, wasn't expected to ever wake up, was my family, basically my best friend wrote my eulogy. Donate Life was called to harvest my organs, but my husband, we'd only been married for 2 years, refused to give up. I had this beautiful near-death experience where I was completely surrounded by God, and I just knew that I had to return to the land of the living so I could continue serving the dying. And so I woke up 8 days later, and the only word I knew was yes. The stroke had paralyzed my vocal cords, and my voice was a breathy whisper, so I had to learn how to talk, walk, eat, go to the bathroom all over again. And the second stroke was much worse than the first stroke. It was catastrophic. I came back to work 8 months later, and since then, it's just been amazing how God has used me to really help people during their end-of-life journey. We fulfilled all kinds of unbelievable wishes for patients and their families, and we are going to be opening the first end-of-life care home in Orange County dedicated to serving the dying. We close escrow on April 8th next month. So I am so excited that you're here. here. I hope you will find hospice to be as an amazing experience as I have. I know you're going to at least be very touched and moved by it. And I really just hope that each of you are as passionate and will make I know you will make a difference in our patients' lives. So thank you so much.
Thank you.